best 100% mammy-made family-style meal.
You got tacos?
Yes, sir.
You got hamburgers?
Yes, sir.
Burger Chef's got thick, juicy, terrific burgers for you.
Let's step back into the swinging 60s, a time of neon lights, velvet booths, and menus filled with dishes you can't even pronounce today. Back then, everyone wanted to dine in style, but not every fancy restaurant had the recipe for success. Some went overboard with outrageous decor, others served food so strange even the hippies weren't buying it, and many simply burned through their money faster than a flaming flambe. So, grab your seat at the table, because we're about to revisit 25 fancy restaurants from the 1960s that failed miserably. And trust me, their stories are juicier than the steak. Maxwell's Plum wasn't just a restaurant, it was an experience. Opened in 1966 by Warner Lee Roy, it dazzled guests with stained glass windows, glittering chandeliers, and a theatrical crowd that looked like they had stepped off a Broadway stage. By the late 1960s and through the 1970s, it became a hotspot for celebrities and socialites who wanted dinner served with a side of spectacle. But all that glamour was expensive to maintain.
I think one of the most interesting things we ever had here is we had the hostages when they came from Iran. This was their first meal.
As tastes shifted in the following years, its over-the-top style began to feel like a relic of another era. In 1988, Maxwell's Plum closed its doors, leaving behind colorful memories and a reputation as one of restaurant history's ultimate too much of a good thing stories. Where Maxwell's Plum dazzled with drama, the next icon captured hearts with romance. Imagine stepping into a dining room where romance seemed woven into every detail. The Sign of the Dove opened on Manhattan's Upper East Side in 1962, and quickly earned a reputation as the go-to spot for proposals, anniversaries, and elegant nights out. Its Victorian-inspired decor, stained glass, antiques, and a regal yet intimate atmosphere made it one of the city's most celebrated restaurants.
We have a lot of groups that dine with us on a particular day of the week, and they always reserve a corner of the dining room for their tradition.
But as dining trends shifted in the 1990s towards sleeker, more modern spaces, its ornate style felt increasingly old-fashioned. When the building was sold in 1998 for redevelopment, the beloved restaurant closed for good. Its departure wasn't about poor food or service, its era had simply passed. Today, it's still remembered as one of New York's most beautiful and romantic dining rooms. Talk about dining like an emperor. Forum of the 12 Caesars, created by legendary restaurateur Joe Baum, was a Roman-inspired fantasy that opened in New York City in the 1960s. Guests were greeted by lavish decor, mosaic floors, gilded accents, and servers dressed with theatrical flair, while feasting on indulgent dishes meant to evoke imperial excess.
Icelandic lobster, deep-sea scallops, shrimp, fillet of fish, and deviled crab. That's right, all on one plate.
At the time, it stood out as one of the city's most extravagant themed dining experiences, earning plenty of attention from critics and diners alike. But maintaining a Roman Empire in Manhattan didn't come cheap. By the mid-1970s, with the city's economy faltering and tastes shifting towards simpler fare, the over-the-top concept lost its shine. The Forum closed in 1975, remembered today as a dazzling reminder that even culinary empires have their limits. La Fonda del Sol was pure sunshine, literally. Opening in 1960 inside Manhattan's Time and Life building, it was the brainchild of celebrated designer Alexander Girard. The restaurant dazzled with vivid colors, playful sunburst logos, and decor inspired by Latin American folk art. More than a place to eat, it aimed to be a cultural showcase, offering a pan-Latin menu alongside one of the most innovative dining spaces of its era.
The 50 Gourmets voted the sucking pig the pièce de résistance. It's been an English delicacy for more than 400 years.
While critics admired its bold design, the ambitious concept struggled to attract a broad audience. Many diners weren't yet familiar with its eclectic dishes, and the high costs of maintaining such a lavish venue didn't help. After roughly a decade, La Fonda del Sol closed, remembered today less for its menu than for its groundbreaking design, a bright, short-lived experiment that still shines in restaurant history. La Fonda del Sol dazzled with bold flair, but what could rival it with timeless French elegance? Ah, the French elegance of La Caravelle. Opened in 1960 on Manhattan's West 55th Street, it quickly became a favorite of Jacqueline Kennedy and New York's elite. Known for its refined French haute cuisine and impeccable service, it was the kind of place where an ordinary evening turned into a grand occasion.
La Caravelle. It's a hugely important New York restaurant historically. Been here for almost 44 years. Great husband and wife owners, veterans, a talented chef in the kitchen. This restaurant has superb pedigree.
Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, La Caravelle embodied elegance, prestige, and that unmistakable French charm. But as New York's dining scene modernized, younger diners looked for less formal experiences, and the expense account patrons who sustained it began to dwindle. After more than 4 decades, La Caravelle closed its doors in 2004. Today, it's remembered as one of New York's last great temples of classic French dining. If you wanted to mingle with New York's high society in the 1960s, La Côte Basque was the place to be. The restaurant radiated French elegance, crisp white tablecloths, perfectly plated haute cuisine, and a dining room filled with Manhattan's most glamorous names.
La Côte Basque Wine House, located here in historic Gulfport. This quaint French country restaurant features both French and continental cuisine.
Its reputation grew even larger when writers like Truman Capote wove it into gossip and literary lore, making it as much a social landmark as a culinary one. But exclusivity can be a double-edged sword.
So when you're looking for French country cuisine, come to the world-renowned La Côte Basque Wine House. From prepper filet mignon to their delectable French lamb chops.
As dining trends shifted and younger crowds sought more modern, less formal experiences, its old-school luxury began to feel dated. Expense account culture also waned. By 2004, after 45 years, La Côte Basque closed for good, marking the end of an era when fine dining was as much about being seen as it was about what was on the plate.
What does this Basque-style dinner cost? $12.95. And if it were twice as much, it would still be a bargain.
But La Côte Basque wasn't alone. Nearby, Lafayette dazzled with equal glamour but an even sharper edge. French dining had a special grip on New York in the 1960s, and Lafayette was one of its brightest stars. Known for impeccable French cuisine and refined service, it drew serious gourmets and socialites who wanted the best. But Lafayette also carried an intimidating edge. Its proprietor, Jean Fayet, was legendary for his strict standards and frosty demeanor, which became part of the restaurant's mystique.
Lafayette is a foodie's paradise, with chefs that are known far and wide.
And later, its weakness. As dining trends shifted in the 1970s toward warmth and informality, Lafayette's aura of formality and exclusivity began to feel out of step. By the late 1970s, it closed. Remembered as a place that defined fine dining in its era but couldn't adapt to a changing culinary culture. Although it first opened in 1944, Quo Vadis became one of Midtown Manhattan's ultimate symbols of luxury dining in the 1960s. Its lavish interior featured red velvet, Roman-inspired decor, and an atmosphere steeped in old-world sophistication. During its peak, it earned 4-star praise and attracted an elite clientele, from politicians to Hollywood stars. But as New York's restaurant scene modernized, Quo Vadis's grand, formal style began to feel out of step with the times.
I'm the chef patron of Quo Vadis on Dean Street in Soho. When I got asked to do a recipe for Cook for Syria, I could not be more honored and flattered.
By 1984, after nearly 4 decades in business, the restaurant closed. Today, it's remembered as a glamorous relic of an era when dining out was as much about spectacle and status as it was about the food. Lutèce wasn't just a restaurant, it was an institution. Opened in 1961 by André Sermain, it quickly earned a reputation as the finest French restaurant in America.
André Sermain, who transformed his cooking school's Manhattan townhouse into Lutece, an Epicurean mecca defined by haute cuisine.
The cuisine was extraordinary, the wine list legendary, and the atmosphere intimate yet elegant. In the 1960s, dining at Lutece became a rite of passage for food lovers, socialites, and celebrities alike. But even legends face the test of time. After a change in ownership in the 1990s, business declined, and the post-9/11 downturn hit New York's fine dining scene hard. On Valentine's Day 2004, Lutece closed its doors for good. Its name still sparks nostalgia among those who remember when it defined what fine dining in America looked like. After Lutece set the standard, what could Top of the Sixes offer diners looking for a view as spectacular as the food? Now, this was dining with a view. Perched on the 41st floor of 666 Fifth Avenue, Top of the Sixes offered sweeping views of Manhattan paired with classic American and continental fare.
Oh, great! HD lost the battle to Blu-ray. That HD player I have is going to be so great now. I feel like a dipshit.
In the 1960s, it was a go-to destination for romantic dates, special celebrations, and anyone craving that wow skyline experience. The restaurant exuded romance and mid-century glamour, with its cocktail lounge becoming legendary in its own right. But over the decades, as newer skyscraper restaurants appeared and dining trends evolved, its allure faded. By 1996, Top of the Sixes closed, remembered fondly by generations of New Yorkers who once toasted anniversaries and engagements high above the city lights. Step into Midtown Manhattan in the 1960s and you'd find the Cattlemen, a Western-themed steakhouse where waiters crooned cowboy tunes and guests could take a ride in a horse-drawn stagecoach around the block before dinner.
In 1945, during a big stakes game of dice, Cattleman's Steakhouse was wagered for a hard 6. With one roll of the dice, Cattleman's had a new owner.
It was pure kitsch, and tourists loved every minute of it. For years, the Cattlemen thrived not just on steaks, but on spectacle. Yet, novelty has a shelf life. As dining trends evolved and the Western craze faded, its rodeo-style charm began to feel dated. By 1989, after 3 decades of songs, stagecoaches, and sizzling steaks, the Cattleman closed its doors. For many New Yorkers, it remains a quirky and nostalgic slice of the city's dining history. When Hugh Hefner launched the Playboy Club in New York in 1962, it was an instant sensation.
Hugh Hefner was the ultimate playboy, hosting wild parties at his mansion in his trademark robe and pajamas, surrounded by a harem of young women, celebrities, and always an aura.
Picture sleek cocktails, smooth lounge acts, and the now iconic Playboy bunnies serving drinks in satin corsets and rabbit ears. In the swinging 60s, it felt glamorous and a little daring, a place where members could feel like part of Hefner's jet-set world. But cultural tides shifted. By the 1980s, the novelty had faded. Women's rights activists criticized its image, and younger crowds weren't interested in its old-school brand of nightlife.
It's exactly what Playboy was all about. Women didn't have a voice, and they were accosted, and they were made fun of. Women were subservient.
Membership dropped, and in 1986, the club closed its doors.
Well, in Manhattan tonight, they are kissing the Playboy bunnies goodbye. The club run by Playboy magazine is shutting down for good in just a few hours.
Today, it's remembered as both a nostalgic emblem of mid-century glitz and a lightning rod in the conversation about gender and culture. Nothing captured the spirit of exotic escapism in 1960s New York quite like Trader Vic's. After opening in 1965 in the basement of the Plaza Hotel, it whisked diners away to a Polynesian fantasy, complete with tiki statues, bamboo decor, and over-the-top rum cocktails. At its peak in the 60s and 70s, it was the height of kitsch chic, a place where New Yorkers could sip Mai Tais and imagine they were far from Midtown. But trends shifted. By the late 80s, tiki bars felt dated, and when Donald Trump bought the Plaza, he shuttered Trader Vic's in 1989, dismissing it as tacky. Though the location is long gone, it lives on in memory as one of the most iconic tiki spots of its era. If Trader Vic's was tiki chic, Kahiki was tiki turned up to 11.
Tiki culture was something that was largely invented in the United States and is just, grew like wildfire then from the 30s to the 40s to the 50s.
This sprawling Polynesian palace in Columbus opened in 1961 and felt more like a movie set than a restaurant. Guests entered past flaming moai statues and into a wonderland of waterfalls, aquariums, and a towering tiki fireplace. The signature mystery drink arrived with a gong, delivered by a costumed hostess, a spectacle unlike anything else in the Midwest. For decades, diners drove for miles to experience its fantasy. But with 500 seats and sky-high upkeep costs, the dream became unsustainable.
Welcome to the Kahiki. We are proud of serving the finest Asian, Polynesian, and American cuisine for over 37 years.
Kahiki closed in 2000, despite being on the National Register of Historic Places, and the building was demolished soon after, for a Walgreens. For many, it remains one of the most heartbreaking losses in American restaurant history. When Kahiki's paradise faded, what Hollywood glamour did Perino's bring to the table? Perino's was the crown jewel of old Hollywood dining. By the 1960s, its peach-hued decor, plush banquettes, and impeccable service made it a magnet for stars like Frank Sinatra and Elizabeth Taylor. It was elegant, exclusive, and one of the most photographed restaurants in Los Angeles. But trends change, even in Hollywood.
In Los Angeles, the film capital where fine dining takes a starring role, we're at world-famous Perino's restaurant.
As younger stars flocked to newer, flashier spots, Perino's struggled to stay relevant. It closed in 1986, with later revival attempts failing to capture its former magic. The iconic building was demolished in 2005, marking the end of an era when Perino's defined Hollywood glamour. When the Four Seasons opened in 1961, it instantly redefined New York dining. Its famed pool room, with a shimmering centerpiece pool and sleek modernist design, became the symbol of 1960s elegance. This was where the city's power brokers sealed deals over steak tartare and martinis, making it the ultimate power lunch destination.
From the moment the Four Seasons opened its doors in July 1959, the restaurant grabbed headlines and critical praise for its innovative, classical modern design.
But time wasn't kind. By the 2000s, its formal style and soaring prices felt out of step with younger diners, and nostalgia became its main draw. After a bitter landlord dispute, the pool room closed in 2019, an icon of mid-century dining that couldn't escape its own history. Born in San Francisco in 1969, Victoria Station was the steakhouse with a gimmick you couldn't miss. Dining cars and cabooses pulled straight from rail yards, pieced together into restaurants where prime rib and baked potatoes came with a side of nostalgia.
When we say Victoria Station is a cut above, that means a lot, like our famous prime rib, cooked and cut to perfection. And how about those savory sautéed shrimp?
Founded by three college friends, the chain tapped into America's late 60s romance with travel and Americana. At its height, more than 100 stations stretched across the US, UK, and Asia, each one a kitschy cathedral to beef, beer, and railroad charm. But novelty has a short timetable. By the 1980s, high costs, changing tastes, and fading rail nostalgia slowed the train. The chain filed for bankruptcy in 1986, its cars uncoupled and sold off, leaving only memories and a few surviving cabooses stranded in parking lots as proof of the ride. Opened in 1961, the Tower Suite was Joe Baum's answer to corporate grandeur atop the Time Life building at 1271 Avenue of the Americas. Designed with sleek mid-century modern style, it embodied the jet age ideal of power dining.
The soup with St. Paul's, the fish over Fitzrovia, and you can see the South Downs with your steak.
During the 60s, it became a favorite for executives wanting to impress clients over continental cuisine. Luxurious sauces, formal tableside service, and a wine list curated for expense accounts. But as the economy slowed in the 1970s and corporate culture shifted away from lavish business lunches, the Tower Suite struggled to stay relevant. It ultimately closed by the late 1970s, remembered as a symbol of an era when fine dining and city views defined Manhattan's business elite. If the Tower Suite was the Jet Age's power lunch spot, what Italian-American flair did Orsini's bring to Manhattan's scene? Orsini's opened in the early 1950s in Midtown Manhattan and became one of New York's most glamorous dining spots throughout the 1960s. Owned by Armando Orsini, it was famed for its sophisticated Italian-American cuisine and even more for its chic atmosphere.
Justin, what is this? This is our bone-in ribeye tomahawk steak, 2.5 pounds, dry aged for 2 weeks.
Celebrities, socialites, and cultural elites, including Frank Sinatra, Grace Kelly, and Gloria Vanderbilt, regularly dined there. Food critics described it as theater as much as a restaurant, with its polished service and society-page clientele. But, like many high society eateries of the era, its influence waned as dining trends shifted in the 1970s and beyond. After several decades of operation, Orsini's eventually closed, remembered today as a symbol of mid-century Manhattan glamour. Launched in 1966, the Trident was a groovy mix of counterculture cool and high-end dining on the Sausalito waterfront. Known for its psychedelic murals by artist Dave Richards, it served fresh seafood and innovative vegetarian dishes in a free-spirited, funky setting. In its heyday, it drew celebrities like Janis Joplin and a young Robin Williams, becoming one of the Bay Area's most iconic dining spots of the late 60s.
Anyway, the people who came here were amazing, and I have so many memories of those sweet simmers in Sausalito.
But as the decade faded, the hippie aesthetic began to feel dated, and business diners looked elsewhere. By the late 1970s, the original Trident had closed, and the space was later rebranded under new management as Horizons. Today, the building carries the Trident name again, but the original 60s version remains a bold and fleeting chapter in California dining history. When the Trident's counterculture cooled off, how did Mr. Fable's Midwestern comfort food keep things simple? Born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, when cousins Gerald Faber and John Boyles converted Kewpie beef burger stands, Mr. Fable's became a Midwestern favorite with its double-patty Mr. Fabulous burger, onion rings, and combo-style munch boxes. At its height, the chain operated 17 cafeteria-style restaurants, remembered for checkered trays, mayo-topped burgers, and the slogan, "People like Mr. Fable's, people like you."
No matter what it is, we want more than fast food.
That's why we go to Mr. Fable's.
The Mr. Fable's family restaurants.
It's good food, fast, at good prices.
Regional loyalty ran deep, but national competitors carried stronger marketing and prime real estate, leaving Mr. Fable's unable to keep pace. Locations dwindled through the 1980s and 1990s, and the final restaurant closed in 2000. Though gone, its recipes and nostalgia survive in local lore.
The olive burger from the long-lost Mr. Fable's out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. This place was a legend. It was there for decades, and it closed its doors in the year 2000.
A reminder of how cherished regional chains often lose to national scale. Launched in Indianapolis in 1957, Burger Chef quickly became a national competitor to McDonald's with flame-broiled burgers, milkshakes, and speedy service. By the late 1960s, it operated more than 1,000 locations, pioneering innovations like the Fun Meal Kids Combo, an early version of the Happy Meal, and the self-serve condiment bar.
Open wide, America. Burger Chef's got thick, juicy, terrific burgers for you. 100% all beef. We really work hard to serve them hot and delicious.
Its red and blue signs and whimsical mascots made it a familiar roadside stop during the fast food boom. But corporate sales and mismanagement eroded momentum. General Foods acquired the chain in 1968, and by the 1980s, Hardee's absorbed most remaining outlets. The last Burger Chef closed in 1996. Today, it survives in old ads, toys, and nostalgia.
You can buy fun meals that now come on Halloween magic meal trays.
there are 10 different magic meal tricks you can collect.
Burger Chef, you're incredible!
Remembered as the inventive fast food chain that couldn't keep pace with McDonald's marketing machine. In 1961 in Springfield, Ohio, Red Barn stood out with barn-shaped buildings, family-sized meals, and the Playbelt playground for kids. Its oversized burgers and fried chicken fueled rapid growth, and by the late 1960s the chain counted 400 locations across 19 states, Canada, and Australia. The bright red roofs became a familiar roadside signal of affordable family dining.
Chicken that's tender and fresh for you.
Now get a 2-piece chicken snack for only $1.59 or a 3-piece chicken dinner for just $1.99 at Red Barn.
Ownership changes, first to United Servomation and later Marriott, shifted focus from the restaurants to real estate. Corporate support and advertising dwindled, and franchise leases were allowed to expire through the late 1970s and 1980s. By 1988, the last Red Barns had closed. Many barn buildings were repurposed, leaving fragments of a once popular fast food pioneer. As Red Barn's red roofs disappeared, what hearty steakhouse experience did Rustler Steakhouse offer to neighborhoods? Launched in 1963 in Philadelphia by former football player Joe Campanella, Rustler offered hearty steaks, baked potatoes, and a casual family atmosphere.
I came to Rustler for these meaty ribs.
I came for this great steak.
It's Rustler's Great Steak and All-You-Can-Eat Rib Sale.
Its straightforward appeal fueled growth through the 1960s, and the chain was soon sold to Geno's Hamburgers before passing to Marriott in the 1970s. Each corporate transfer altered Rustler's identity, folding it into larger portfolios and weakening its consistency. In 1983, Tenley Enterprises acquired the brand but quickly sold its 108 outlets to Collins Foods, which phased it out by the late 1980s. Once a familiar neighborhood steakhouse, Rustler fell victim to constant ownership changes. Today, only old ads, matchbooks, and faded signage recall a chain born in the 60s but undone by corporate turnover. Founded in Kewanee, Illinois, Sandy's offered franchisees unusual freedom, store ownership, supplier choice, and personal visits from founder Gus Brick Lundberg. With plaid berets, Scottish branding, and Midwestern warmth, it became a regional favorite and even expanded to Belgium and Canada. But by the late 1960s, national rivals dominated with television ads and massive supply chains Sandy's couldn't match.
Let's give a start to the Big Scott bun and begin on the bottom with a toasted bun. Next comes meat, then golden cheese. Melted to perfection, it's sure to please Big Scott.
Hardee's purchased the chain in 1971, pledging to preserve it, but by 1973, most outlets had converted. The last official Sandy's, in Muscatine, Iowa, switched in 1979, while others went independent or rebranded. Today, Sandy's survives mainly in vintage ads, menus, and memorabilia, an emblem of how regional charm was swallowed by national scale.